So if you are a fan of cryptocurrencies at this point, you are probably not a fan of Gary Gensler, who is the current chairman of the SEC. Well, those in the crypto space have not been happy with Gary for a long time, specifically those who hold XRP and now many other cryptocurrencies that he is going after. In this video, I'm going to tell you what the United States Congress is now doing, as it finally looks like they're taking notice to the overreach of the SEC and how it could cost Gary Gensler his job. We're also going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, XRP, and what is upcoming on May 3rd regarding the Federal Reserve's decision to raise rates. And I'm also going to be talking about a little-known, undisclosed meeting between Ripple and the SEC. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, join the Late Night Grind community. Don't forget to hit that bell notification icon. That way YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. So if you do that, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So U.S. House Representative Warren Davidson, who just the other week really turned the screws of Gary Gensler in a House Financial Services Committee banking hearing, well, he has been on the heels of Gary Gensler for several weeks now regarding the oversight, the leadership that Gary Gensler has been having while in charge of the SEC. And Warren Davidson, along with many others in Congress, are now finally starting to see the inability of Gary Gensler to properly lead the SEC. There's a lot of different things that Warren Davidson has outlined that could cost Gary Gensler his job. So several weeks ago, Warren Davidson actually tweeted out that saying he is introducing legislation that will essentially get Gary Gensler fired from his job. And here's what he said back on April 18th. To correct a long series of abuses, I'm introducing legislation that removes the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission and replaces the role with an executive director that reports to the board and where all authority resides. Former chairs of the SEC will be considered ineligible. So basically making decisions of the SEC now turn to consensus, a la blockchain. Now that's not shocking. Warren Davidson is very pro cryptocurrency. He's been a very outspoken critic of what the SEC has been doing in its war on cryptocurrencies, notably talking about its battle with staking, with stablecoins, as well as exchanges and several other things inside of the crypto space. Now, if you've been in this industry for a little while, well, you might know that Gary Gensler, who's the head of the SEC, is essentially having a war on crypto. It's not even in hiding anymore. However, Warren Davidson and several others are introducing this legislation to get rid of him, or at least that role, because of several things. The SEC overreach, as well as a few other little-known facts about the SEC that is now coming out. How about the high turnover rate of the SEC? They're constantly looking for new workers inside of the SEC, new attorneys to work for the SEC, because they are constantly losing them. And among other things, he was also pointing out the endless litigation and the endless discovery periods inside of those litigations, essentially leaving these cryptocurrency companies in a limbo, a la what we are seeing with Ripple going on over 2 years of this case. So I'm excited to see where this legislation may end up. Supposedly there was similar legislation that was introduced back in January of 2022 that didn't really go anywhere, so I don't know how far this one will go as well, but it's a very good sign that at least some people in the United States Congress are taking note of the SEC's overreach and its ineffectiveness at properly policing and protecting the investors that it's supposed to be. All right, now before I get into some price action and some price talk regarding Bitcoin, regarding XRP, and some of the other coins that are going ballistic right now, Pepe, I wanted to talk about an undisclosed meeting between Ripple and the SEC that supposedly was taking place on May 8th. Now, this first originated on Twitter, and of course, it made the rounds very quickly. However, looking into this, it appears like it's probably just a part of the Twitter rumor mill, as Eleanor Tourette of Fox Business pointed out. The originator of this tweet, who basically cited an unconfirmed source, basically saying, listen, this is just part of the Twitter rumor mill. Somebody started this. It's probably not going to happen. As Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, even said himself, he is looking for a summary judgment in this case by the judge at some point in 2023. It's unlikely that they would have a meeting, and if they did have a meeting, well, they can meet any time. They don't have to necessarily plan it for a specific date. So at this point, it looks like it's just part of the Twitter rumor mill, and I wanted to put that to rest here in this video. All right, so now let's talk about Bitcoin in XRP and what they could be doing very soon. Obviously, XRP, a lot of it hinges upon it's the case of Ripple with the SEC, getting its regulatory clarity. Bitcoin, on the other hand, well, there is some very big traders that have recently come out, and they said this next upcoming bull run is going to be a little bit different, in that it is going to outperform all of the altcoins, and it's not even going to be close. Now, a lot of this is because some people are thinking that governments, institutional money, things like that, if they jump into the cryptocurrency world, the bigger banks like the MasterCards, those looking for the transaction values of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, they're not necessarily going to be jumping into the altcoin space. They're going to be going into what is considered the safe realm, and that is Bitcoin. Thus, some bigger traders, some big-time investors now believe that Bitcoin is going to absolutely smoke every other altcoin out there in this next bull run. Now, obviously, predictions are predictions, and we have to see if any of them come true. But nonetheless, this seems like a little bit of a safe bet, especially coming from investors that could be pouring billions of dollars potentially into the crypto space. They generally start with the biggest, most obvious ones. That would be Bitcoin and even XRP. Specifically, if it has its regulatory clarity in the United States, you have to look out. And as Ripple hopefully looks to wrap up this case against the SEC, well, there's another huge crypto company looking to take on the SEC. Well, they weren't really looking to take on the SEC, but they will be defending themselves in court if necessary. That's right, Coinbase is now probably looking at an impending suit from the SEC. They received their Wells notice, basically a notice that the SEC is investigating them, and there is probably going to be a lawsuit coming down the pike. Well, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, made a video basically saying, listen, they're going to dispute everything that the SEC is saying, and they will absolutely fight the SEC in court for everything that the SEC is claiming. Now, it's interesting that the SEC picked Coinbase because now that they've been up against Ripple, Ripple has some very deep pockets, obviously. Well, so does Coinbase. So you would think after about 2 years of going into this case with Ripple and having all kinds of things exposed about the SEC and how poorly it's run, that they would go after a just as big of company in Coinbase. That they would have to have a really rock-solid slam dunk case to actually go after Coinbase. Why would they do that? Because Coinbase has some deep pockets. They've got some tricks up their sleeve, I'm sure, and I'm sure they learned a lot from Ripple's case on how to defend themselves against the SEC. Why would they go after Coinbase? So it's something that I'm going to be very interested in. In fact, John Deaton recently commented on Coinbase's statement about defending themselves in court. And he said, listen, this is an absolute great demonstration of defending your beliefs, the fact that they're willing to go out there and go up against the big old bad SEC in court. Well, like I said, they got the pockets to do so. And let me know in the comment section down below if you're going to be following that case. That case could actually be a little bit bigger, in my opinion, than the Ripple versus the SEC case. And that's because Coinbase, well, it has a little bit more of a diverse user base in terms of people just getting into cryptocurrencies, or those that were, especially in the United States, those that were just looking to buy Bitcoin typically went to Coinbase. They have a huge user base. Obviously, so does XRP, have a lot of people using that as well, but nonetheless, Coinbase, a huge household name. So I think that could have serious implications for the rest of the crypto space, and obviously we have some legislation to watch. We're gonna have to see if Gary Gensler has a job in the upcoming months and years. All right, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.